on page 305 of your big brick. 400
and something.
400 or whatever. You've got a whole section around safety, and you've got this page, how does my mental health, how does money impact my mental health? So, we've got some emotions, feeling unsafe, low self-esteem, relationship tension, less brain power. From what you're hearing back from educators, is it resonating with teens? Because I guess it's all stress and anxiety is relative to something.
Exactly. Well, we work in lots of different schools, and it's really interesting across the public, private, Catholic sectors, and it's really interesting how different sections of the book resonate with different populations. And we actually had a teacher that at a state school in Melbourne, they were implementing the program for the year 9, 10s and 12s. And this teacher gave an introductory speech for the program, and he kind of gave an opening speech. And I didn't realise this at the time, but in his speech, he basically came out and said when he was younger, when he was the age of a lot of these kids in the room, his family declared bankruptcy. And the room went completely silent, and you could just see that so many of these kids for the first time, kind of listened in and went, whoa, that is a really big deal. And so when it comes to talking about mental health and money, a lot of kids, whether they admit it or not, are already impacted by their family situations or perhaps this stress or anxiety of entering the real world because they've been exposed to home situations or external situations that indicate to them and tell them the story that it's going to be tough out there once they leave school. So whether or not it resonates in the classroom, that very particular lesson you've got there, it is something that is so critically important to expose these kids to and get them in that conversation that linking money and mental health is a really important link, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's worth paying attention to and acknowledging as they go ahead.
So for the teachers listening or the educators or the stakeholders who think this might be, because a lot of people will say to me, and even, we had lunch before and you said, oh, what's your view about, what was your question, like kids and money or something like that?
Educating kids.
Yeah, I don't heaps have a view, and a lot of people say to me, oh, the stuff you talk about on the podcast should be taught in school. What do you think? My answer to that is there should be lots of stuff taught at school. That's not my wheelhouse, designing curriculum, nor is it my wheelhouse doing this type of stuff. So I actually don't have a view on it. Once they leave school and come into my world, I can skill them up right away. However, for the educators and the people thinking how does this plug into the curriculum, one awesome thing that you've got in here, you've got the alignment guides to the Australian curriculum.
Absolutely.
So we've got Year 9 and Year 10, we've got maths, humanities, and you've got the codes AC, 9M, whatever the code is. So
exactly.
It does actually plug in to the curriculum.
Yeah.
So having said that, I'm looking at there's a program here or a little
worksheet,
if you will.
Yes.
And so that can be put onto the digital device that the kids have, and the teachers can go through this. And
that's it. So one of the key things for us at Mandy Money is accessibility. So this program that we have, it comes in every shape or delivery format that you could want. So we've got a teacher version. We can deliver it by PowerPoint and print out the worksheets.
Yep.
We've got a teacher and a student textbook. So if you just want to go hard copy, and I know this can be very popular in schools that don't have great technology access. And then we also have, for schools that do prefer students to have their own access, we have a student version so they can complete the worksheets digitally via a digital program where it's got an element of gamification in there.
So an example here, how does money impact my mental health? We've got 4 questions. Ella avoids checking her bank account because she's scared of what she'll find. Bills are piling up, but she'd rather not think about it. So we can choose a main emotion felt, short-term impact or long-term impact. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, do we add?
You choose
one of each. So
yep.
The main emotion is fear, hopelessness, embarrassment, regret, and insecurity. So that would be fear, wouldn't it?
Yes, I don't have it in front of me, but it sounds about right.
The short-term impact, and then there's like A, B, C, D. So avoids catching up with friends, feels stressed and anxious because of overdue bills, gets caught up in feelings of jealousy. So I think it would be B, the short-term impact, feels stressed and anxious because of overdue bills. Mm-hmm. And the long-term impact, there's, A to E that they can choose. So it's age-appropriate workbooks, educational level curriculum, if you will, appropriate.
Yep.
And I just think it's so cool to start to talk about this stuff, because I'm sure that this, I've just opened up and I thought the mental health one was interesting. Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool that you are providing options. So teachers go, oh, I think this would be good to talk about the soft things about mental health.
Exactly.
Like boys, you're allowed to say, I feel sad. Yeah. I feel scared.
Yes.
All that stuff.
And it's naming those emotions, because even as adults, and I'm sure a large portion of your audience will understand, / every human being on the planet would understand, is sometimes you just avoid opening your bills, looking at your bank account, paying that fine. And a big part of that is you just don't it's emotional management as opposed to the actual act of looking at it. You don't have an inability to open an envelope. It's managing your emotions and learning to actually name your emotions and understand what's going on in your head is really important. And honestly, when it comes to a lot of this money stuff, for me, what I find more fascinating and what I think is the bigger challenge to undertake is the psychology behind money. The technical components are definitely, they deserve their time in the sun, and they are really, understanding what interest is. They're necessary lessons in that math space. But the psychology behind why we do things with money and why we act in certain ways is a really powerful key. And that's why it's so important to get it, to younger kids, and especially even younger than that. They say that your money mindsets and attitudes are locked in by age 7.
Yeah. Gosh.
So focusing on creating that awareness and understanding and being able to get psychology on your side with your money, I think that's why it's so important to get it in early.
I want to read another one from this. Mia feels awkward talking about money with her mates. She earns less than them, so she avoids hanging out when it might cost cash. Mm-hmm. So kids can go, okay, well, that's maybe around the main emotion of embarrassment.
Yep.
And then, what's the short-term impacts? Well, it could make you avoid catching up with friends and feeling lonely or left out.
Yeah.
The long-term impact, friendships suffer and she feels more isolated and less confident over time.
Yeah.
So on that, I had a look before. You're right. The casual rate for retail employee level 1 under 16 years of age is $14.43. So
touch higher than 8, but not much.
When I say stuff and people are like, no, you're wrong, I'm like, I need to know.
Well, it's so tricky. You should know off the top of your head, but because all the awards are different.
Hey, it's Glen here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.